The observation that the truly feminine woman is a vanishing breed is not a superficial judgment of appearance, but a lament for a fading essence. We live in an era where the external signifiers of femininity are everywhere: elegant dresses, curated makeup, and photo shoots featuring soft smiles. Yet, these are often just that, signifiers. They are the costume, not the character. The substance of femininity, a quality that was once felt as a calming, grounding force in homes and communities, seems to have been hollowed out. This essence is not about a single action, but a consistent energy. It is a woman who moves through the world with an innate grace, not as a performance, but as a natural state of being. Her strength is not absent, but it is expressed through a gentle resilience and a nurturing warmth that makes others feel seen and safe. It is the ability to be vulnerable without fearing it makes one weak, and to possess an emotional depth that adds richness to relationships. This is what feels increasingly rare, as if the very archetype is on the verge of extinction. This erosion did not happen by accident. Modern society, with its relentless emphasis on individual achievement, competition, and material success, has done everything it can to erase the value of traditional femininity. The cultural narrative, often disguised as empowerment, has systematically recast feminine traits as liabilities. To be soft is to be fragile. To be nurturing is to be subservient. To prioritize connection and family is to lack ambition. Women are now told from a young age that to be strong is to be entirely independent, to never need a man, and to approach life as a battlefield where only the most assertive and competitive prevail. In this paradigm, qualities like receptivity, gentleness, and a focus on creating harmony are framed as relics of an oppressive past. The message is clear: to succeed in a man's world, a woman must adopt a man's energy. Consequently, many women have felt compelled to armor themselves. They have learned to wear a mask of hardness, adopting masculine traits out of a sense of survival. This is not an authentic expression of self, but a defensive posture. A suit of armor donned to navigate a system that rewards aggression and punishes softness. They speak in the language of transactions and debate. They lead with their accomplishments as shields. And they learn to suppress their intuition and emotional intelligence in favor of cold, hard logic. The tragedy is that this performance is exhausting. Beneath the mask of unyielding strength, there is often a deep, unspoken fatigue, yearning to set the armor down and simply be. Yet, the culture offers no reprieve. It glorifies the grind and shames the rest. A woman is not permitted to be both successful and soft, both ambitious and nurturing. She is forced to choose, and in choosing the path, society rewards. She slowly loses touch with the innate, life-giving energy that once defined her core. The result is a profound disconnection, not just from society, but from the self. A woman who has spent years operating in a masculine energy for professional survival may find she no longer knows how to access her feminine side in her personal life. The channels of grace, warmth, and receptive vulnerability have atrophied from lack of use. She may achieve every external metric of success, the career, the income, the status, and still feel a hollow emptiness, a sense that something essential is missing. She has gained the world but lost her soul. This internal void is the true cost of the cultural shift. The feminine essence has not been liberated. It has been suppressed, buried under layers of expectation, performance, and fear. It remains a faint whisper beneath the clamor of ambition, a quiet ache for a way of being that the modern world no longer understands or values. The heart of the issue lies. It's not in the existence of masculine and feminine energies, but in their necessary and complementary balance. This concept, often called polarity, is the fundamental dynamic that creates attraction, harmony, and purpose in relationships. Masculine energy, in its essence, is directional and structural. It is the force that builds, protects, and provides. It is about focus, mission, and creating order from chaos. It is the drive that pushes a man to conquer challenges, to erect the walls of a home. and to secure the resources for his family's future. It is, by its nature, a outwardly focused and often rigid energy. Like the spine of a building, essential for stability, but hard and unyielding on its own. Femininity, in its pure form, is the counterbalance. It is not direction, but flow. It is not about building the structure, but about nurturing the life within it. It is the energy of softness, intuition, emotion, and receptivity. It is what makes a house a home not through the physical construction, but through the atmosphere of warmth, comfort, and emotional connection that fills it. The modern world, however, has thrown this delicate balance into disarray. The societal push for women to achieve and compete has encouraged a mass migration into the realm of masculine energy. This is not about women having careers or ambitions. Those are human traits. The problem arises when ambition, defined by masculine metrics of success like titles, wealth, and dominance, completely replaces the cultivation of feminine qualities. A woman is now taught to value her ability to argue and compete over her ability to connect and nurture. She is rewarded for her hardness, not her softness. The result is a life lived predominantly in a masculine frequency. This state is inherently taxing. It is a state of constant doing, striving, and defending. A woman operating from this place may achieve external success, but internally she often feels restless, unfulfilled, and spiritually dry, cut off from the receptive, life-giving wellspring of her feminine nature. This internal shift creates an external crisis in relationships. A man grounded in his masculinity is not seeking a mirror image of himself in a partner. He does not come home from a day of building and battling in the world, looking for another debate or a list of his shortcomings. He seeks the complementary energy he lacks, the softness to his hardness, the flow to his direction, the peace to his chaos. He is drawn to a woman whose feminine presence allows him to lower his guard, to rest, and to feel that his efforts are for a purpose greater than himself. When he instead encounters a partner who is also operating from a hardened, competitive masculine energy, the polarity vanishes. Two directional forces do not create harmony. They create a standoff. Two people constantly doing and competing, with no one being and receiving, creates a relationship devoid of the nurturing intimacy it is meant to provide. It becomes a rivalry, a silent power struggle where both parties feel misunderstood and unsupported. This clash of identical energies explains the profound dissatisfaction felt by both men and women in modern partnerships. The man feels he has gained a competitor, not a companion. He finds himself in a perpetual state of defense. His leadership resented and his efforts to provide met with critique rather than gratitude. He feels drained, not replenished. The woman, in turn, feels unheard and unloved in her hardness. She cannot understand why her success and independence do not inspire devotion. Failing to see that her masculine presentation effectively extinguishes the very spark of attraction she hopes to kindle. She wants a strong man, but her own masculine energy does not invite his strength. It challenges it. The relationship devolves into a transactional arrangement, his provision for her presence devoid of the sacred. Synergistic exchange that occurs when masculine and feminine energies dance in their natural complementary rhythm. Without this balance, the very foundation of a loving, lasting partnership crumbles into a state of functional, yet joyless coexistence in the digital age. The lines between authentic being and curated performance have become dangerously blurred. And nowhere is this more evident than in the modern presentation of femininity. Social media platforms have become the new stage. Femininity has been reduced to a series of aesthetic choices, a costume to be put on and taken off. The uniform of femininity, the flowing dresses, the meticulous makeup, the suggestive poses is now widely available, but it often serves as a mask for a completely different internal energy. This is not the embodiment of femininity. It is its marketing. A woman can post a picture exuding softness and vulnerability. Yet in her daily interactions, her energy can be sharp, competitive, and closed off. This creates a profound dissonance for those who encounter her, particularly men who are left confused by the contradiction between the alluring image and the draining reality. The performance is for an audience, designed to garner likes and validation, while true feminine energy is a state of being felt in a shared space, a quiet resonance that comforts and calms, without ever needing to announce itself. This focus on the external shell has devastating consequences for the substance of relationships. When the performance ends and the filters are turned off, what remains is the underlying energy, and increasingly, that energy is masculine. A woman can look the part of the feminine ideal, but if her core mode of operation is to control, to debate, to demand, and to compete, the man in her life will feel it as a constant low-grade drain. He is not met with receptivity, but with resistance. He finds a partner who listens, not to understand, but to formulate a counter-argument. He encounters a desire not to create a shared peace, but to win individual battles. The home ceases to be a sanctuary, a place where he can set down the armor he wears to face the world, and becomes just another arena where he must remain guarded. The relationship, stripped of its nurturing core, inevitably becomes transactional. It devolves into a cold calculation of what am I getting versus what am I giving. His provision and protection are offered in exchange for her presence. But when that presence brings tension instead of tranquility, the math simply does not add up. He begins to question why he should invest his life's energy, his resources, and his peace into a dynamic that only depletes him. This transactional nature kills the very soul of a partnership, love, which should be an unconditional field of mutual growth and support. Becomes a conditional contract, fragile and perpetually on the verge of breach. The man feels he is not loved for who he is, but for what he provides. His efforts are not met with genuine appreciation, but are seen as his obligated duty. In return, he feels he is not receiving the one thing that makes his struggles worthwhile, a feminine energy that offers emotional sanctuary, softness, and inspiration. Without this essential exchange, his motivation to lead, to provide, and to protect withers. He becomes disengaged, not out of malice, but from a deep-seated knowledge that his sacrifice is for an empty cause. The woman, meanwhile, feels this withdrawal and interprets it as a failure of his commitment, not seeing that her own abandonment of her feminine essence was the first crack in the foundation. The relationship becomes a vicious cycle of unmet expectations and growing resentment, where both parties feel shortchanged, never realizing that the true currency of connection, authentic, complementary energy was never truly put on the table. The void left by the retreat of feminine energy has not remained an empty space. It has been filled with a cascade of negative consequences that ripple outward, affecting men, women, and the very fabric of society. For men, the response has been a quiet but mass withdrawal. This is not a strategic strike or an act of protest, but a fundamental recalibration of self-preservation. When a man consistently finds that the woman in his life is a source of conflict rather than peace, a drain on his energy rather than a source of replenishment, his innate drive to protect and provide is short-circuited. Why should he pour his life force into a vessel that leaks? He begins to see commitment not as a noble endeavor, but as a higher-risk, low-reward contract. The potential penalties, divorce courts, financial ruin, emotional manipulation, loom large, while the promised rewards of companionship, peace, and inspiration feel like a mirage. Consequently, men are not abandoning women out of hatred, but out of a rational calculation. They are choosing solitude not as a preferred state, but as the lesser of two evils. In this solitude, they find a peace that is, at the very least, reliable, and they channel their masculine energy inward into their purpose, their health, and their personal missions, creating a life that is stable, even if it is lonely simultaneously. Women are paying a heavy, often unacknowledged, price for this cultural trade. The promise was that rejecting softness would lead to empowerment and fulfillment. Yet the statistics tell a different story. Rising rates of anxiety, depression, and a profound, pervasive loneliness exist alongside unprecedented freedoms and opportunities. This is the great paradox of modern womanhood. The pursuit of a masculine-defined strength, one built on competition, independence, and emotional suppression, has created an internal void. The constant performance of hardness is exhausting, and the relentless chase for external validation through career or social media leaves the soul hungry. The deep, innate feminine needs for intimate connection, for nurturing, and for being in a state of receptive flow remains starved. A woman may have a full calendar and an impressive resume, but she often sits in a quiet room at night feeling disconnected, not from others, but from her own self. The essence that would naturally provide a sense of peace and fulfillment has been systemically suppressed in the name of strength, leaving behind a hollow echo where a resonant core should be. This crisis does not stop at the individual. It strikes at the heart of the family, the primary cell of society. Children are now raised in environments where the calming, nurturing influence of feminine energy is scarce. They witness mothers who are stressed, defensive, and operating from a place of constant striving. Young boys subconsciously learn that softness in women is a myth. They model their own future expectations on this hardened blueprint. Young girls inherit this template, learning that to be a woman is to be in a state of perpetual competition and tension with the world. The generational cycle of imbalance is thus reinforced. The home, which was meant to be a training ground for balanced human connection, becomes a factory for anxiety and relational dysfunction. The loss of femininity, therefore, is not a niche concern about dating preferences. It is a cultural wound that undermines the mental and emotional well-being of individuals and weakens the foundational structures that hold society together, creating a world where peace is a rare commodity and genuine connection is its most endangered resource. Amidst this landscape of relational breakdown and cultural hardening, a clarifying truth emerges: rarity breeds value. The woman who has resisted the cultural pressure to harden, who has nurtured her feminine essence against the current, now stands in stark and beautiful contrast. She is not a relic. She is a refuge. Her power does not lie in her ability to compete with a man, but in her capacity to complete him. This dynamic is not about a regression to outdated roles, but a return to a timeless, energetic truth. A feminine woman does not need to chase, manipulate, or demand commitment. Her very energy is an invitation to a man's highest potential. In her presence, a man feels a sense of purpose that transcends his own ambition. He is inspired to build, not just for himself, but for her. He is motivated to protect, not out of obligation, but from a deep, instinctual drive to safeguard the peace she embodies. Her softness does not weaken him. It gives his strength a reason to exist. Her trust in his leadership empowers him to lead with greater integrity and vision. This is the synergistic magic that modern relationships have lost the understanding that the feminine is the key that unlocks the highest expression of the masculine. This reality offers a clear, albeit challenging, path forward. It necessitates a profound cultural and personal awakening. Women must undertake the courageous work of peeling back the layers of performance and armor to rediscover their authentic. This is not a call to abandon ambition or intelligence, but to integrate them with grace, intuition, and softness. It is to understand that true power is not a choice between strength and vulnerability, but the fusion of the two. A woman can be a formidable CEO and still possess the gentle, receptive energy that nurtures her relationships. The goal is to heal the internal split, to allow herself to be a whole person who can operate in the world, without sacrificing the essence that makes her uniquely magnetic and fulfilled. This journey inward requires her to question the narrative that her value is solely in her output and competition, and to rediscover the profound power in her ability to connect, to nurture, and to inspire. For men, the path is one of unwavering standards and self-possession. The era of committing out of loneliness or social expectation is over. A man grounded in his own purpose and peace will no longer settle for a relationship that costs him his sanity. He understands that his energy is his most valuable currency, and he will invest it only where it is honored and reciprocated with the feminine energy he craves. This is not a punitive stance, but a principled one. by refusing to engage in draining transactional dynamics. He not only protects his own well-being, but also, paradoxically, becomes more attractive. His self-respect and emotional independence signal a mature masculinity that is not needy but discerning. This collective shift in male expectation creates a powerful feedback loop. It sends a clear message that femininity is not obsolete but essential. It places the highest value on the very traits that culture has tried to erase. The restoration of balance, therefore, begins with individual choices, a woman's choice to embrace her softness as strength, and a man's choice to cherish and protect it. In this recalibration, the feminine woman is not just rare. She is recognized as the cornerstone upon which lasting love and legacy are built.